bottom. If you can hear me but can't hear the screen, pop in what you're seeing or what you're not seeing, as it were. And what I'll do is I'll get started. Apologies for the slight delay in us getting on. I had a little technical difficulty on my end, but thank you all for joining me. There are quite a few of you here, which is great. So we've got quite a few yeses so far. I'm just going to give you all a little second just to respond to us. So hopefully you can see and hear everything that you need. I'm just going to keep waffling away for a second until I've got a couple more responses, and then we'll get going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, lovely. So I think I'm just going to get started. I might as well. All of you can hear me, so I'm going to strike while the iron is hot, as they say. So welcome, everybody. Just wanted to get started and say thank you so much for joining us. I know you're all probably really busy after our lovely long bank holiday weekend. But thank you so much for being here. A little bit of housekeeping for you today. Use the chat box to communicate with myself. So I'm Laura Phillips. I'm with Digital Communities Wales. And Rue is my beautiful assistant for the morning. He is my fellow trainer based down in the southwest of Wales. He's going to be monitoring our little chat box. So if you guys have got any questions or any comments or anything, Rue is going to be on hand. If you lose the audio at any point or you lose the visual, please let us know. What I will be doing is I will be sending out the recording of this. So if you do drop out halfway through or you lose all connection or anything disastrous happens, don't worry, I'll be sending everything out anyway, so we're all good, hopefully. And today what we're going to do is we're going to have a little look at meeting the digital demands of Universal Credit. So as we all know, I mean, I think a couple of you are from different areas in Wales. If you could let me know where you're from. I think from the list I've got here, I've got the Vale of Glamorgan, Newport, Cardiff, Caerphilly, and I've got a couple of people up in Denbighshire. Is that absolutely right? Am I missing anybody from the areas that you sort of work or volunteer as a part of? Llandudno, lovely. Anglesey, great. Okay. Oh, lovely. Brilliant. Okie dokie. So, with regards to the Universal Credit rollout, with some of you, it's already going to have rolled out. With others, it's going to be sort of in the pipeline. And it's going to be something that you'll need to be ready for, really. So with regards to that, we're going to have a little look at the sort of softer skills today. So we're not going to go into any of the actual Universal Credit form filling, for the simple reason that that is down to the job centres. I'm just going to put it out there now and say that I'm not an expert on Universal Credit. I know how it works in its sort of logistics, but the ins and outs of it, any questions with those sorts of sort of individual questions you might have about the actual Universal Credit form filling and things like Verify and stuff like that, that would need to go back to the job centres, because they're the experts and they're the ones that know who needs to go where and why and those sorts of things. So so yeah, it's going to be the softer skills today. So just to cover our aims for this morning, I'm going to split the sort of next 45 minutes-ish into two different sections. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about the digital skills when you're applying for Universal Credit. And what we're going to do then is we're going to have a little look at digital solutions for managing money. Those two skills will differ entirely person by person. So you might have somebody that is already signed up for a social media account, for example, and they're going to be fairly savvy when it comes to filling out forms and doing things like that. So using an actual device, whether it be a laptop or a computer or a mobile phone, for example. But that person might not be as savvy in managing their personal finances. So different people are going to have different needs, really. Oh, Richard, okay, you're back. That's lovely. So that's what I wanted to say with this bit. there are going to be next steps with this as well. And like I say, this session is all about sort of getting you guys to consider what additional needs there might be for the people that you're supporting. So it's going to be managing expectations of the people that you're supporting as well, especially for those of you that are potentially with housing associations, charities, councils. You might not have the best information for the actual ins and outs of the universal credit. So like I say, that's going to be back to the job centre, or you might have somebody in the office that is a real pro at universal credit, and they might be more appropriate for your clients to speak to than you really. So it's all about managing those expectations with the individuals. We're also going to have a little look at the digital skills framework, and I'm hopefully going to sort of boost your confidence with the digital skills framework. And after the session, this little webinar that we've got, like I said, I'm going to send out the recording anyway. So we are currently recording. And what I'll be doing is, along with the recording, is I'll be sending out a lovely little resource pack. And that's just a Padlet full of resources that we think could really help you pass on to those end users. So yeah, lovely. Sorry, I was just reading through the little comments there. I should really leave Rue to it, shouldn't I? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at digital skills. We might, if we've got time, have a little look at dealing with difficult people. If we can. I mean, I know tensions can get high with individuals when it comes to these sorts of things. Confidentiality and managing, like I say, manage people's expectations. And yeah, so we've got quite a lot to cover, but I'll move along as swiftly as I started. So as you all know, government services such as universal benefit claims, universal credit, passport applications and car tax and self-assessment tax forms are all moving to what's called digital by default. You all know this anyway, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But us as individuals that are digitally included, and I'm going to throw into the same sort of bag as myself as being somebody who's digitally included, for a couple of reasons. You've joined my webinar because you're looking at supporting others, and you need basic skills in order to support other people. So you're all already aware of the changes that have been happening within sort of not only government service, but with private companies, with that shift over to digital by default. And that's come about for a lot of different reasons, which I'm not going to get into today, really. But in-depth support, specifically when filling out universal credit forms and verify issues, like I say, need to be referred back to the job centre, or if you have got a member of staff there that are experts in it. So to be perfectly honest, verify is the most difficult part. And that's something that I've heard from members of staff that I've dealt with and end users that come to sort of sign up for universal credit when they need to. We can't teach people how to do that just because it is very, very complex. So again, take it back to the experts. So we need to look at the wider issues and the wider impacts of this digital by default rollover, really. So what do you think people miss out most if they're not online? I mean, you can mention universal credit if you want to, but what do you genuinely think people miss out on if they are currently digitally excluded? So if they don't have the skills to be online? Feel free to type away in the box if you wanted to. Online banking, Stephen, definitely, yeah. Something I know I definitely couldn't live without. Local information, well done, B, definitely. Saving money, absolutely. And do you know what, B? I really like the local information one, especially for social media, because I found out quite a lot about what's going on in my local area from their social media channels, more than I do from sort of their websites. But definitely, it sort of cuts you out from a wider scope of sort of the community, doesn't it, really? So at the moment in Wales, there are 15% of the Welsh adult population that are currently digitally excluded. It's around about 365,000 adults in Wales, which is a huge number of people. And a lot of those individuals are offline for a number of different reasons. It could be age, it could be health issues, it could be because they're in social housing and they simply can't afford it. So there are lots and lots of different reasons, and I'm not going to get into the barriers today. I'm not going to get into them too deeply anyway. But there are lots of ways to get around those barriers with regards to the resources that I'm going to send out later. So we won't leave you sort of without that information. And the lovely thing about the resource pack that I'm going to send out later as well is you're more than welcome to get in touch with me if you wanted to afterwards. If you wanted to find out about either me or Rue, dependent where you are in Wales, or even for those of you that are up in sort of North Wales, it could be my colleague Dayan that could come and provide face-to-face training with your teams. So if this does give you a little bit of food for thought, please do get in touch with us afterwards. So there are millions of people in the UK are claiming at least one of the following benefits: income-based job seekers allowance, income-related employment and support allowance, income support, child tax credits, working tax credit, or housing benefits. If any of those individuals claim for these, then they'll eventually be moved over to universal credit sometime during the next couple of years. I think the most recent figures, and feel free if anybody knows that this has been updated, was that everybody's going to be over in universal credit by 2022, I believe. That was from my last little bit of research. So yeah, over the next couple of months, just on the little bit of research that I've done this morning, I know that Vale of Glamorgan are hopping over on October 2018. Newport switched over back in November of last year. Cardiff, Caerphilly, those are sort of, Cardiff was February, Caerphilly was is due to be in September, so in the next couple of weeks. And then I've got Denbighshire sort of April 2018, so that's just rolled over as well. I know there's a couple of you, I do apologise, I couldn't grasp from your email account where you were from, so I didn't get any more information, but those of you that are in different areas, you'll know when you're moving over to that universal credit change if you haven't already. So just out of curiosity, for those of you who are in areas that have already moved over, what have you found the biggest sort of barriers or the biggest demands on your time or staffing have been? What have you discovered that your clients need the biggest support with? Okay, the verification, right. Okay, so sorting out an email address, got it. Okay. Lovely. And Stephen, just out of curiosity, with the verify or the verification, was it that those individuals didn't have identification, or was just the actual process of the verify difficult? Okay, so they had ID, but they couldn't get verified. Okay, okay, that makes sense. So anybody else, any other sort of demands or issues that you guys have found with those of you that have assisted people getting onto universal credit? Okay, so I'm just going to move along to our next little question here. I'd love to know what you guys think the tools or the skills are that people will need in order to manage with either universal credit or just generally getting online. So one of the ideas that Stephen's already mentioned is having an email address. So that is a tool, and setting up an email address is a skill that you need in order to manage online, because it's very rare now that you can go on to a website that you don't need to register for at some point. So let me know what other skills or tools you think that people need to be able to get online. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So the three answers we've just had in here is maintaining the journal for universal credit, regular access to the internet, having constant access to the internet in order to practice, and then literacy issues. That's a really, really good answer there, B. Thank you. So some really great answers. If any of you think of any more, feel free to pop them in. So like I said, we'll keep an eye on this. And what's really lovely about some of the ideas that you guys are coming up with here as well is we can send you guides as to how to assist people with these things. With this, for example, maintaining a journal for universal credit, I'm 90% sure that there's already a link on the resource pack. If not, I'll make sure it's in there about how we can help people to manage their journals sort of online. And that could take away from quite a lot of the issues that you guys are having. So, and like B was saying, having regular access to the internet is quite a big barrier for a lot of people, and a skill and a tool that you need in order to get by online, really. So some of the ideas that I came up with was having an email account, which you guys have already mentioned, being able to upload items and download things. So not only knowing what those buzzwords mean, but being able to carry out that activity. So that's something that all of us do quite regularly anyway, and probably in our office lives. I don't know how much sort of uploading and downloading I do in my personal life, but definitely for work, I'm constantly saving things and converting them and all sorts. So having those skills, and again, that comes through when it comes to the verify issue, knowing what type of ID to upload and how to upload it is really important. Being able to write a journal, and that could be compared to making a post on social media. But I'll come on to that in a second. As you've mentioned, having a computer or a mobile device, having the internet connection, having those really basic form filling skills, and then having a strong password, really, because the comparison that I make at this sort of stage in the webinar is that I say that it boils it down, much more simplifies it than it's actually necessary, really. But I compare filling out a universal credit form to signing up to a social media account or signing up for an email account, because that form filling is pretty much exactly the same. You have to click into a box and type information, or you've got to upload your ID for universal credit, or you've got to upload a picture for your Facebook profile or your Twitter profile or whatever social media you're using. So those skills are there for people. Lots of people in Wales at the moment, the last figure that I found was 56% of the population in Wales are currently on some form of social media, which is a really high percentage. I know it's not the same amount as those individuals that are online at that 85%, but those individuals that are on social media, they might need universal credit at some point. And it can seem really, really scary. I mean, if I know I'm boiling it down and saying that universal credit is like signing up for Facebook, for example, in that the form is fairly similar, but the information that's required can be a little bit more scary and a little bit more sort of, I don't know what I'm doing all of a sudden. It's things like that that are really, really important. And another skill that a lot of people need when it comes to, especially for universal credit, is being a little bit organized. And I know that sounds really silly, but it's things like having a rental agreement or having a national insurance number to hand, or having information about who lives with you. Because that can really slow down the whole process, and especially when it comes to you guys as individuals that support people who are applying for universal credit, it's really important that they have all of that information before you even get started, because it could be that you get 3/4 of the way through filling out a form and all of a sudden you need their national insurance number and they haven't looked at that in 10 years. So it's one of those really important things that it's almost like a checklist, right? Have you got these 10 things? Great, we can proceed to a level where we can save and come back potentially. So it's really important that individuals that are sort of applying for universal credit are made aware of how organized they need to be, really. And I think that is a very important skill to have, is just having that organization. I think that comes through as well when the individual who's supporting them at the job centre will probably say as well, in that they're going to be contacting them through the journal or through the Universal Credit portal. And if you're not organised and you forget about that for a couple of weeks, it could mean problems for your the individual, the staff member at the job centre trying to get in touch with you. So really, really important skill to have is just that sort of organisation skill, really. So well done on that one. Some really lovely answers. So look, and yeah, I mean, especially with things like when you're registering for a social media profile, you need to read their terms and conditions as well. And I know I probably hold my hands up and I say I don't read terms and conditions half as much as I need to. I don't know about the rest of you, but that is really, really important. And being able to make sense of those terms and conditions, or being able to check sort of online safety and things like that are absolutely key with individuals when it comes to getting by and managing and really succeeding online. So one of the big tips that I give a lot of people when it comes to managing online, as far as online safety is concerned, obviously passwords are a big one. But the other one is, if you've got individuals that are signing up for Universal Credit for the first time, make sure you let them know about the ads on oh, the phone is fine, but losing control. Okay, no problem, Lucy. I'll make sure I send the PowerPoint presentation over to you as well, so you can see what we're talking about. So with regards to when you're carrying out a search on say Google or another search engine, it can come up if you search, for example, the Citizens Advice Bureau. And feel free to give it a try once we're off this webinar later. What happens more often than not is that you get adverts at the top. You need to make sure that we warn people about this, because some individuals that have never been online before will just automatically click onto the top option, because that is the most obvious one to click. It's the top on the list, so why isn't it right? But it's really, really important that we give people those skills to make sure that they're going onto the right website. Because the Universal Credit forms take so much information and so much personal information from individuals, we have to make sure that they're not falling into traps, really. So making sure that they're on the correct website, and I know that sounds really silly, but making sure that you talk to people about, when we carry out a Google search or Bing or whatever search engine you want to use, that we're making sure that we're not clicking onto adverts, that we're going on to the correct website. So what we're going to do now is have a little chat about building confidence, because, like I said, building confidence is a huge barrier, and like I've mentioned, clients can feel concerned about signing up for things or putting their personal data online. They might not have an email address, as Stephen's mentioned, have the typing skills or the literary skills to get online either. But it's all about breaking those things down into smaller parts. So teaching people how to set up an email it can seem quite daunting, but there are lots and lots of websites out there that can really assist with improving typing skills, for example. So if you, again, if you wanted to do this after the webinar, you're more than welcome to. You can play Pac-Man using Google. So all you do is go into, again, the search engine. It tends to work best on Google. You just type in the phrase Pac-Man and you can play a quick game of Pac-Man. And that can really, really help with building confidence with typing skills, and just generally getting people to understand sort of that this whole website, this whole internet thing isn't as scary as it seems. It's also finding out a little bit about that individual as well, and having a little look at things that they're interested in. So if you've got a client that's particularly interested in fishing, for example, then what might be quite nice is to set them up on a fishing forum. And from setting them up on a forum, they're going to need an email address. They're going to need to verify who they are by that email. And they're going to need to keep in touch with people online. But it's something that they're interested in. and they're curious about. So that could really help build that confidence before we get into the scary stuff of, right, okay, what's your national insurance number and how many people do you live with and those sorts of things. So simple and fun activities can help build confidence and curiosity. And so my tips for getting people online and keeping them online is find out about local services such as libraries, community groups that offer digital help and access to equipment. So us as an organisation, as Digital Communities Wales, we can also lend out kit to organisations as well. Again, if you wanted any more information on that, get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll see how we can help or who we can refer you to. Use a variety of resources to explain what you're doing. Like I said, there are some brilliant how-to videos and how-to guides out there. And dependent on the people that you're supporting and how they learn, videos might be a really, really great way of doing that. I mean, I know I'm awful I get bored halfway through reading something. So videos are really great for me because there's always something going on and there's something for me to concentrate on. So it's about knowing that individual again. And like I've mentioned before, remember to teach some basic safety tips and, you know, making sure that they're keeping their information safe and things like that. So like I said, I'm going to signpost you guys to our resource pack later. And remember that those who are digitally and financially excluded tend to have lower literacy skills and numeracy skills. So this will potentially be something that you'll need to help your clients with. And that could be that you're not able to help with, but it could be that they might need to go on a course, you know, a sort of a separate course entirely to improve their numeracy or literacy skills, or even their real basic IT skills, because I know that you probably don't get a lot of time to sit down with the individuals, and your goal, which is absolutely fair, is to get them possibly rolled out onto universal credit and get them managing it really functionally. But it could be that they do really need that individual support to sort of learn how to use a keyboard, and it might not be something that games and fun activities can help with. So again, if you wanted any further information on what's going on in your local area to support with these skills, just let us know, and you can email me later if you wanted to. That's absolutely fine. So this is just a little section where I'm going to talk to you guys about the foundation skills for being online. So this is a lovely little foundation skills sort of chart to show how we're doing basic stuff online, which can seem really scary as a whole. So if you think of the internet as an apple, it's absolutely full of stuff. But what we're doing is we're going to break it down. So on the outside here, you've got the ability to being safe, legal and confident online. And that's this little purple ring here. And so that's your safe, legal and confident online. I can guarantee that all of you are just missing out on the confidence really when it comes to being online. So with regards to this, I'm just going to run through the individual foundation skills. Feel free to hop in and tell me if there's anything that you're not doing online out of these 4 skills, or what you'd like to improve on. So communicating is my first one, and that's this little quadrant here, and that's the ability to communicate, collaborate and share with others online. So that is the ability to keep in touch with people. So sending emails, being able to send instant messaging, using things like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger and things like that. Then we've got handling information and content. And this is something that I mentioned a little while ago. Oh, I'm just colouring things in now, apologies. So that is the ability to find and select information online. And it's being able to do things like downloading and uploading as well, because you're taking that initial content, the original content, and sharing it elsewhere. So that could be stuff that you're doing in the office already. If somebody sends you a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation, if you can save that onto your desktop, onto your computer, or onto a different drive, then you're handling information and content. Then we've got transacting. This is something that I do more often than not, more often than anything else anyway online. And that is being able to buy and sell things online, manage online transactions, so my online banking, and applying for services. And in this situation, it would be universal credit. And then finally, we've got finding solutions to problem using digital tools and online services. I say to people that this is my favourite one. And I personally think that this is the most important one that we're going to look at. Oh, squiffy little circle there. So the reason that I think that that's the most important one is because if you can't do something online, what is the first thing that you do? If I didn't know how to fix something around my house, what do you guys think the first thing that I do would be? Feel free to type your answers in the little search box at the bottom. Google it, definitely. Yeah, you're all going to say search it in Google, definitely. Yeah. And Nikki, that's absolutely right. You can ask someone for help. From a digital sphere, I mean, definitely, Manon, I use YouTube for everything. Rue is probably really bored of hearing this story now, but I managed to repressurize a boiler in my old house from a video I found on YouTube. And it gave me that independence and that ability to learn something brand new. So that's why it's my favourite one. Oh, I know, Rue, I'm so sorry. So it really is hugely important to be able to know how to problem solve online. From that problem solving, though, you need to know where you're getting that information from. So, like I mentioned a little while ago about knowing what websites you're clicking onto and if it's an advert and things like that, it's really important that we know where we're getting our information from and why it's so important that we're getting good sources of information. So it's really important, and this I really love as well, because a lot of these skills don't seem scary when you break them down. But when you say to somebody, well, universal credit is just a combination of all of these things, really, people become less scared of it. Because if you make that comparison, like I said, right, okay, have you sent through a WhatsApp message in the last couple of weeks? People will, or they've sent some sort of digital message to somebody. They'd probably say yes. Great. You know how to communicate with somebody online. Your journal is no different to that. And it's just breaking down those big scary skills that come across in universal credit and breaking them down into really simple day-to-day stuff that we're doing. So like I said, I will be sending this over to you, and there's also a really lovely website that comes along with the framework that I'll pop over to you as well. So these are just a couple of examples of websites that are really, really handy for information on how to improve your digital skills. So Digital Unite is an absolutely fantastic sort of online guide sheet, really. There's lots and lots of different digital guides out there that are constantly being updated. We're working really closely with Digital Unite at the moment. So if you would like any more information on Digital Unite and what they provide, do feel free to let us know. Learn My Way is really handy. It's provided by the Good Things Foundation, and it's an online centre network for learners. It's designed to make getting online easy, and I know, ironically, it's a website, but it is perfect for those without basic online skills. So what you could do is you could say to somebody, right, this is the Learn My Way website, get them started that way, and they'll learn and develop skills from there. So Digital Eagles is by Barclays, as you can see from their little logo, and they have free online courses, and they have practical guides to help you do more online. And the Digital Eagles is really handy because they've obviously got the sort of banking aspect to it, which is something that I'm going to mention in a second. And like I've said, not forgetting libraries and community venues that do drop-in centres, Digital Fridays, and dependent on the areas that all of you are in, we've got digital inclusion advisors. So my colleagues that are based all around Wales will be able to let you know what local libraries are doing things out there. So if you don't have time to sit down with somebody and show them Digital Unite or Learn My Way and do those sort of softer skills that we've talked about, we can refer you to people that can do that. So that's what we're here for, really. So our next little bit is talking about financial inclusion and the bridge between digital and financial inclusion. So getting signed up for Universal Credit is just a start. As I've said, many people who are digitally excluded don't have the skills to get online to search for cheaper goods and services. And in this next section, we will look at great sources of information online that can help people manage their money. Because realistically, if we think of universal credit as just filling out forms and being this abstract sort of theory of getting online, then as soon as they've signed up for universal credit and their first sort of month's money comes in, they're getting paid that as a whole. Whereas previously and historically, a lot of people that were on multiple benefits might have been paid their benefits every 2 weeks. Or they might be, their housing benefits might have been paid directly to a private landlord or to a housing association. And now that responsibility is being moved over to those individuals. And again, as sort of people that are sort of majority people that are in employment, we get paid our wages and we've got to deal with that and pay X, Y, and Z over. But this is going to be entirely changing for a lot of people that are on benefits. And that's where we don't want to leave people high and dry. Because like I said, it's all well and good as teaching people how to get online and the benefits for it and how easy it is. But it's those wider sort of financial inclusion skills that are really, really very important. So this is a little slide from the Lloyd's Consumer Index of 2017. And I think it came out sort of end of last year, beginning of this year. So, so it's not too out of date. But there are 16.2 million people in the UK that have a very low financial capability. That number is dropping, but it is dropping slowly. 9.2 million people in the UK have low digital capability, which are, you know, the 15% of people in Wales that we're talking about. So it's you know, not great. But 3.1 million people in the UK have low both digital and financial capability, which is really frightening because I know I can log on to my online banking on a Sunday night and I can get up-to-date, accurate information on how much money is in my bank. And if it's a little bit closer to payday or a little bit further away from payday than I'd anticipated, I have got the ability to be able to move money within the click of a button. But for those individuals that have low digital and financial capability, they don't have that opportunity. And that's really frightening because it means that they're probably paying more money in fees than those that are digitally and financially savvy, really. So my question to you guys is, how much do you think you can save from being online? So just having the skills and the ability to get on the internet, how much do you think the average household saving is for being online? Oh, we've had a couple of really good guesses. So we've had £500 per year, £300 per year. The average household saving is just under that £500, so it's £444 just from being online. And for me, and again, I talk a lot about myself in these sorts of webinars, for me, £444 is a huge amount of money. I work full-time and my partner works full-time, but £444 is a lot of money still. For somebody who is on benefits or on potentially a 0 hours contract or doesn't have savings, £444 could genuinely be a lifeline for them. And so what we need to make sure is that people have financial resilience. So in the index that we've just talked about, the Lloyd's Consumer Digital Index, they asked a question regarding people's financial resilience, asking how long they could manage financially without regular income. So whether that's from a job or if it's from benefits or whatever it is. And 30% of people in the UK said they couldn't manage more than a month. And half of those individuals, so 15% of the people in the UK at the moment, said that they would struggle immediately. And it's heartbreaking for one. But it's really important as to why we need to teach people how to be financially resilient. So it is in line with that number of people that we just saw in the last slide. So this one here, the 16.2 that have low financial capability. So For low-income households, this figure, so the figure of people that would struggle immediately, rises to a staggering 48%. So getting people onto universal credit isn't just sort of getting them online and getting them to use the internet. We need to make sure that those individuals have got the skills to be able to manage once they are online. So that's this little section. So my digital inclusion top tips are to absolutely budget, and I know that sounds easier said than done, but what I do is I use a Google Drive account. So I've got Google Drive and I share my spreadsheets with my husband, and what we do is every month we've got a lovely little spreadsheet of our incomings, our outgoings, and it's hard, but we're brutally honest with it. And I put in there if I bought myself something online, or I've gotten a takeout, sort of a secret takeout that I've not told anybody about. I'm really hard on myself, and I put that information in a Google Drive account because I want to know right at the end of the month how much I've got left in my budget and if I'm overspending or underspending or whatever it is. And using something as simple and things like Google Drive are really easy to use. It doesn't cost anything to set up a Gmail account, and you can keep all of your sort of passwords and email accounts in one place, because it's when you sign up with a Gmail account, you're given the opportunity to use all of Google's sort of wealth of information, really. That's things like being able to write a CV on Google Docs and have somebody read it and amend it without you having to print it off or saving it and downloading and uploading, those sorts of things. And like I said, the Google Sheets are really handy because I can share it with my husband and we can make sure that we're both on the same page, really. Dealing with debt, and this is where sort of citizens advice come from and money advice services and things like that really come in handy. And opening a bank account sounds like a really simple one, but until you've got your own bank account, you don't really budget and manage your money very well. And then very finally, it's understanding your rent. And that could be something that dependent on what organisations you guys work with, if you're housing associations or anything like that. Having that conversation with people about understanding what their rent is, when it comes out, all that sort of thing is really important. So budgeting apps for mobile devices, there are loads out there, and again I'll send you a link to some really handy ones. So online banking skills, Barclays Digital Wings is really helpful for that. Boosting people's confidence with making online payments, online safety, and that sort of thing. And Money Advice Wales is really good for information and just sort of clear details on what information you can get, really. So again, like with the digital inclusion stuff, I've got some examples of what is out there for financial inclusion. The first one is Turn to Us, and it's a national charity that helps people in financial hardship to gain access to additional benefits, potentially charitable grants and support services. And they do this online, over the phone or face to face, and they do it sometimes through partner organisations and through volunteers as well. So that's a really handy organisation to have in your back pocket, especially if you've got people that might be managing online with universal credit, but they might not be comfortable enough to set up an online bank account, and they might want to speak to somebody face to face because they're not comfortable talking about their financial stuff online, and that is completely understandable. The next one then is Money Made Clear Wales, and that's a Welsh Government funded free and easy website about money, with information on managing your money better and where to get support. We've got the Money Advice Service, which I've already mentioned, and that helps you to manage your money better. There's a really lovely tool on there called the Health Check tool, and it gives you online calculators and comparisons to make the most out of your finances, and you know that's free and impartial. And Money Saving Expert is also great, and me and Rue were talking about this the other day and how we use money saving expert all of the time. So it's Martin Lewis, who you all probably have heard of, whether it's on the radio or on the TV. And they've got some really, really good advice. It's a little bit like Citizens Advice meets financial inclusion, in that there's really good advice on sort of when your rights as a consumer, where you can save money and things like that. So Money Saving Expert is really, really great. The website itself isn't fantastic. I mean, I love it, but it can be a little bit wordy for people that are brand new to sort of being online. So that's the end of our sort of financial inclusion section and the end of our webinar. So just to sum up, digital skills to apply for universal credit could be form filling, it could be the verify stuff that we've talked about, and it's about breaking those skills down into those smaller parts. And we've had a little look, a really quick whistle stop tour through digital solutions for managing money. And did anybody have any questions before we finish? What I'll do, like I said, is I'll be sending through all of the resources anyway. My details are up on the screen now, so I will be sending a little evaluation form through to you guys later. It'll probably be in the next hour or so, to be perfectly honest, if I can get myself together that quickly. So if you did have any questions, I'm not going to end this webinar quite yet. Me and Rue will stay here. I am going to mute my little microphone though, just so you don't hear me breathing. But I will still be here for the next sort of 10 minutes or so. So we'll use this time. If you didn't have any questions, feel free to hop off. You don't have to stay. But thank you again so much for joining us. Me and Rue really, really appreciate it. And yeah, so thanks a million, and I'll be in touch soon.